the campaign was slavery. You must remember I was the nominee of the relatively new Republican Party, which had formed up north a little time before. The Whigs were fallen, as many of those members were joining defecting Democrats from their party over the Kansas-Nebraska Act. All this may seem to have little to do with the Senate election, but we need to note senators in those days were elected by the state legislature. It is a fact. Stephen Douglas's name nor my name appeared on any ballot in Illinois. This election was going to be about which party controlled the state legislature.
Well, as the incumbent, my nomination for another term was assured, but...
Oh, well, Judge, let's be honest. You had antagonized President Buchanan so much, a fellow Democrat, that he actively worked against you in 1858 here in Illinois and would have had his own man get the nomination had he been able to control the state Democratic Party structure. Am I right on that?
Well, what the president says is true. In some of the state legislative districts, there were Republican candidates, as well as Douglas Democratic candidates, and Buchanan Democratic candidates. My followers called those false Democrats Danites, as a biblical reference to a false shrine set up in the city of Dan.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can tell the political landscape in Illinois was indeed complicated. The judge had to keep as much of his party's base together. I had to start by creating a new Republican base. Both of us were trying to draw from those same voters here in the middle of the state, the remnants of the old Whig Party. The northern end of the state was firmly Republican. The southern end was pretty much Democrat.
But with pockets of Danites here and there in Egypt, as we called southern Illinois back then, such that Mr. Lincoln and I faced an almost equally hostile audience in Jonesboro.
This election was going to be won or lost in the middle of the state, where Whigs here were still looking for that political home. A house divided against itself cannot stand. This government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free. I do not expect the Union to be dissolved. I do not expect the house to fall. I do expect it will cease to be divided. It'll become all one thing or all the other. Either the opponents of slavery shall arrest the further spread of it and place it where the public mind shall rest that it is in the course of ultimate extinction. Or its advocates will push it forward till it shall be like lawful in all the states, old as well as new, north as well as south. Have we no tendency to the latter condition?
Yes.
You but speak rightly when you assert that during the last session of Congress there was an attempt to violate one of the fundamental principles upon which our free institutions rest. The attempt to force the Lecompton Constitution upon the people of Kansas against their will would have been, if successful, subversive of the great fundamental principles upon which all our institutions rest.
The judge and I agreed for us to appear on the same platform and divide our time. We also agreed that there should be one appearance in each congressional district. We'd already spoke together in Chicago and Springfield. That left cities in the other 7 congressional districts. Those with a political bent have the opinion that the judge won Ottawa and Jonesboro, while I won Galesburg, Quincy, and Alton. Those same pundits suggest that Freeport and Charleston were draws. That's all nonsense. The judge was one of the most accomplished speakers of our day, and he had significantly more experience on the stump than I did. If someone had been handicapping those debates before they began, I would have come out the heavy underdog. In short, the judge should have won every debate, hands down.
Again, the famed Lincoln humility comes to the fore. After having spent so many years in Congress, both the House of Representatives and the Senate, and having been a political campaigner for even longer, I was, as you can tell now, accomplished in the more formal rhetoric style of the day. Mr. Lincoln never developed that florid delivery for which I have a gift. Thank you. What he brought to the debates was his skills as a highly practiced lawyer who was accustomed to swaying a jury. In that, he more than held his own in the debates. In the end, Mr. Lincoln and I both agree that the winner of the debates were the people of this great nation. Three cheers for Douglas. Huzzah! 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 Thank you, sir. I did.